Kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome to episode 158 of the Rotten Reviews podcast, where we have a fun one in store for you guys. Free off with Tubi, of course, because you know we love Tubi. But before we get into that movie, I want to say thank you for everyone who's been listening to the podcast, who's been sharing the podcast, who's been coming in each and every single week to check out the podcast. It means a lot to me. It really, really does. And thank you for everyone who's been checking out the YouTube page. I appreciate all the new subscribers, and it means a lot. And just keep sharing the content, and we'll keep growing as a community, and there'll be more and more better things coming down the pipeline. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked out the YouTube channel yet, weekly game reviews every Wednesday. We have old episodes of the podcast going up, and we have shorts coming up every now and then, and some live streams as well. We're also live streaming over on Twitch. All the links will be down below. We've been live streaming a lot of Fortnite lately, a little bit of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and we're going to play some other games probably on Twitch as well. We're trying to get the Twitch channel back up and running. We're also doing the live streams, drawing live streams over on YouTube, so we'll try and get them all. We'll try and do like some co-streaming on both platforms if possible, somewhere down the line. I know I say that a lot, but you know, it's just a lot of stuff to do and a lot of things to set up, but we're getting there, and I appreciate you guys for sticking around and coming back each and every single week. It really does mean a lot to me, and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all very much. Also, just to give you guys a little update or preview as to what's coming for next month. I know a lot of people do Inktober if you're an artist, or if you look into Halloween art, horror art, and all that kind of fun stuff. For me, I'm going to be doing two different series. I'm going to be doing my Sketchween series. If you guys didn't check it out last year, I'll be doing a single drawing each day, or posting a single drawing each day, which is going to be a different horror or Halloween icon on a post-it note, which I've been doing this one for the last 2 years now, I think it is. And the other one, I've got two series planned. The other series I'm actually going to do, that I'm prepping right now and getting a bunch of the drawings ready, because they're actually going to be full color drawings. Nothing major, like giant size or anything like that. They're still going to be like the same size of the drawings I sent with my daughter and her lunch. So alongside the post-it note horror drawings I'm going to be posting every day, I'm going to probably post one of those in the morning, and then this other series I'm going to post at nighttime, and maybe rotate depending. I don't know, it depends on which one does better at which times, and we're going to see what we can do for views, essentially. But the other series is going to be Treehouse of Horrors and Simpson related Halloween pieces. So I'm very excited. I got a bunch of those there. If you guys want to see a preview of those, they're on the Instagram, they're on the Facebook page, and they are going to be on the YouTube community tab under my page, so definitely go check that out. It's a small little preview of what's set for next month, and I think it's pretty cool, so hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I don't know about you guys, but where I am right now in Ontario, we were getting ready for like fall weather, nice cool weather, and then out of nowhere summer decided to come back and slap us in the face, and it's really goddamn hot in this place yet again. But we're supposed to have a cool down period and some rain, so hopefully that will come in and I'll be able to do more content, because trying to do this without the AC on or like a fan on, it gets to be a little hot in this little place. So hopefully it will cool down soon. But I'm sure that stuff doesn't really matter to you guys. So as you know, we're here to talk about a movie. This movie is from 1985. Unless you have this on autoplay, the movie we're talking about is The Return of the Living Dead. I don't know why I put like a little exclamation on the, or dragged it out a little bit, whatever. I'm tired, it's hot, I'm sweaty, I'm old. It is what it is. Each and every week you guys come back, even though I can't speak English. I don't know why. But yeah, we're here to talk about The Return of the Living Dead from 1985. It's an hour and 30 minutes long. It's a horror comedy, and description as read on Tubi. While working at a medical supply company, 2 employees release a gas that raises the dead, causing the town to be overrun by flesh-eating zombies. This movie is directed by Dan O'Bannon, who's also known for writing Alien Alien from 1979, Aliens from 1986, of course, The Return of the Living Dead, and Dark Star from 1974, which I've never actually heard of before. He's done a bunch of other Alien-related stuff all the way up into 2019. A bunch of short stuff. So I'm very interested in checking out some of that stuff. And also, there's a bunch of writers tagged to this. One of the writers tagged is Rudy Ritchie, which is also apparently the writer for There's Always Vanilla from 1971, which I haven't seen. But they're a zombie in the 1986 Night of the Living Dead, as well as the Motorcycle Rider from Dawn of the Dead in 1978. And then another one of the writers being Russell Streiner, I believe this is his name, proper way of saying it. He's the uncredited Johnny from the original Night of the Living Dead from 1968. He was also Sheriff McLeland in the 1990 reboot or reimagining of Night of the Living Dead. He's also known as being the producer from the 1976 film The Devil and Sam Silverstein, which I've never actually heard of before. And of course, the last writer that we're going to talk about is John A. Russo, who's also the writer of Night of the Living Dead from 1968 and 1990. He's also did the story for Night of the Animated Dead from 2021. He's got a bunch of stories from up to actually last year, Dead of Night being the last one from 2022. It's based on his screenplay. And there's also Dead Good Night from 2021 as well, where he did the original story. And we also got mentioned from 2016, My Uncle John is a Zombie, where he's the writer for that as well, which we might discuss on the podcast at some point in time. I think it'd be a fun watch. Maybe not like a full episode, maybe like a little mini episode, or maybe in like an extra Patreon bonus thing if we ever get around to doing that. I know. I'm horrible at that, but that's okay. The tagline, they're back from the grave and ready to party. Trivia, the filmmakers had to get approval from Lysol to have Frank spray away the stench of death with their product. They liked the idea that Lysol would kill any conceivable odor, even the smell of dead. As we already talked about, this movie came out in 1985. It's got a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 4.7 out of 5 on Amazon.ca. Apparently 94% of Google users like this movie. Came out August 16th, 1985, and apparently it had a budget of $4 million. It doesn't say what it made though on the tab that I'm looking on. And of course it's in Orion Pictures. We love our Orion Pictures, don't we? Don't we? But yeah, we're at the part of the movie now, or the podcast I should say, where we're going to talk about this movie. And if you guys don't want to have spoilers from a movie that came out in 1985, feel free to pause it now, go download Tubi, or even just go in as a guest. Log in on the web browser if you want to, or download the app. Watch this movie on Tubi, because it's free, with ads of course, and then come back to the podcast, because we need you here. And I want you guys to listen to me talk about a movie that you just watched, because that makes sense, right? You guys don't want to listen to the movie twice, right? So yeah, definitely do that. But yeah, fair warning, if you guys don't want to be spoiled, I'm going to talk about the movie from start to finish, hit most of the points in between, and not leave anything out, hopefully anything good. And yeah, on to the movie at hand.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
in the dark of the night, something strange is going on.
You see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Sure.
They ship those bodies. Well, say hello.
The dead have risen from the grave.
Mister, there's 100 of those things out there.
How many did you say?
100?
And now the question is, how do we get them back into the ground?
Bert, Frank, we have a little problem.
4 left. 10 right.
That goddamn chemicals! It's all over everything! Stupid asshole! Watch your tongue, boy, if you like this job! Like this job!
Brain.
Medical science is baffled.
And it's a puzzle, because technically, you're not alive.
Why do you eat people?
Not people. Brains.
How do you kill something that's already dead?
Well, how do I know, Fred? I don't know. Let me think.
It's not a bad question, Bert.
In that movie, they destroyed the brain to kill him. Is that what they did?
The brains, right.
Brains!
Brain! The brain! I hit the brain. Oh! Get it off! 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 Get it off!
The military is nervous.
Usual crap.
The police are confused.
Send more cops. It worked in the movie! Well, it ain't working now. Bring the movie line!
It's not a bad question, Bert. It's not a bad question, Bert. It's not a bad question, Bert.
The return of the living dead.
Alright, movie starting out with that classic MGM lion roar, and then it says the events portrayed in this film are all true. The names are real names of real people and real organizations. And then we see the Anita Medical Supply, July 3rd, 1984, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. That's when we see our main cast. So right here we have Bert, who's played by Clu Gallagher, who's like the owner of the factory. Then we have James Cairn playing Frank, who's like the trainer of this business kind of thing. He's like kind of one of the head employees, and he's teaching Tom Matthews, Freddie, the roots and how to work the business and whatnot. And he's like, well, you know, we got these extra stuff we're gonna do after work, actually, just to try to get ahead, you know, teach the kid a little bit of extra things. And that's when Frank's like, you know, so we got this medical school that's looking for this like lady's body with perfect teeth, so that's an F2AF. And he's just, you know, Freddie's just looking on like, huh? He's explaining like F and M. F means female, M means male, FT means pretty teeth, you know, not pretty tough. That's when they're taking down the skeleton and they're setting up this shipping container with the little styrofoam popcorn stuff that they're putting in, peanuts, whatever you want to call it. He's like, yeah, you want her to be nice and comfy, you know, you don't want anything to happen to her, you want her to have a happy, you know, comfy ride, you know, even though she's a skeleton, but it's fine. And then Freddy's like, so Frank, where you get all these skeletons from? He's like, they come from India, you know, just this tradie thing that we got going on. We just don't ask questions, they just come from India, and we just go on with our business and do our job like we're supposed to. And pretty much Frank is trading Freddy so he can work in the factory warehouse area. That way he can get all these orders here and know where all the body parts are and various parts of the skeletons and wheelchairs and whatever else that they might need to ship off to various schools and other organizations. Then Frank decides to take Freddy into the freezer area where they have this dead body hanging from the meat hooks and be like, hey, say hello to him. He's our new inventory. We're expecting to ship him out Monday, you know, if we don't die before then, of course. And then we cut to our group of rockers. I think it's like Chuck, Casey, Spider, Tina, all getting ready to be like, yeah, we're gonna go party tonight. Yeah, of course we're gonna go party. Gonna go party in the depth of the graveyard. That's when we find out Tina is actually dating Freddy, who's obviously the guy from the beginning who's working at the medical factory. She's like, no, I can't go party with you guys. I gotta go meet Freddy at the factory once he's done, you know, working. It's like, oh, he got a job. What a loser. Then we cut back to Freddy. He's like, Frank, so what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen here? So, I saw something that really scared me. You ever see that movie Night of the Living Dead? Do you know that was based on a true case? I've never been more serious in my life. That's a real case. It was a real movie, man. It's just full-on documentary. Frank goes on about saying that there's a chemical spill in the hospital, and they changed out the movie a little bit because it was actually a real thing, and they just made zombies for the movie. But yeah, apparently the chemical brought the dead body back to life in the hospital, and it was kind of, he was saying it was a spray on marijuana, but I don't understand why that's coming up, but you know, sure, it makes them into a zombie, I guess. And he's saying that there's a typical army fucked up, and that the army fucked up the shipment, and that the wrong bodies, the bodies that were from that hospital that were contaminated, and the chemicals are in the container down the basement of the factory, and that they're just keeping them there safe and, you know, not doing anything with them. Then the phone rings, and it's actually Frank's wife asking when he's gonna be home for supper, and that freaks Freddy out. He's like, zombies, really, in the basement? Frank gets dead on the phone with his wife, and he's like, so do you want to go see the corpse down below, the medical one, the one down in the basement, huh? I'll go see him. And then we apparently find out that the bodies have been in the basement for 14 years now, and they're just keeping them in the basement because, you know, what else are they going to do with them? These containers have like this glass dome on top of it, and Frank unloosens the bolt on it and opens up the glass dome, and then we see this, it has a glass top on top, and we just see a face poking up against the glass, and Frank, you know, cleans it off. He's like, yeah, look, see, it's a real body inside there. So at that point, then Freddy's like, so these things don't leak at all, right? And that's when Frank's like, these things don't leak at all, made by the army. He slaps it, and then gas leaks all over the place and gets him right in the face, and they just drop to the ground coughing. And then we see the zombie inside slowly starting to like melt and come alive, essentially. And then the Return of the Living Dead font pops up and the music starts playing. Love the music in this movie. Absolutely amazing. Fucking love it. But yeah, then we see the glass in that container start to crack a little bit, and that's going to essentially create a tar zombie, a tar man, the most iconic zombie probably out of all of them next to like Bub. Then as that music's playing, the intro credits going, we can see the gas is supposed to be making its way through the pipelines, and it's slowly going to start coming out into the actual ground and go through the vent systems, and it's going to start contaminating all the other dead bodies. We see it go through the vent system where it goes into that meat locker, and then that zombie that's on the meat hook by his brain is, you see him starting to shake in the bag as he's already coming alive, because that's how fast the gas works. And then we just cut to this big fancy mansion place, and it's like 4 p.m. daylight time as this car pulls up to this gated fence and it slowly drives in. There's 2 guards at the gate watching over the property, essentially. Big giant American flag, and it sounds like it's on the beachside area. That's where this like army sergeant comes in. He's like, his wife's like, hey dear, how was work? Usual crap. He's like, well, what's for dinner? Oh, your favorite lamb chops. He's like, oh, I had that for lunch. It's like, fine, asshole. And then he goes to his own personal little fancy office. It looks like he's got a bar, and he's got his own like a little war room computer system and like a china cabinet where he's calling him and be like, yeah, I'm gonna be home all day. If you need me, I'm here. And we find out he's freaking out a little bit because the wife's giving him all this pressure, and apparently they're looking for the bodies. He's like, you know what, maybe we'll never find them. I don't know where the fuck they got shipped to. I don't know what I'm doing. Sounds like me trying to podcast. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm on almost 200 episodes now. Boy. Where we see our punk rockers driving in their car, and one of the guys in the back is reading a comic book called Weird Trips, which I don't know if I've ever heard of before, or if it's even real for that matter. Could be just a prop for the movie for all I know. Anyway, so we see them pulling up to the medical supply center because they're going to wait for Freddy to show up, or they're dropping Tina off to pick up Freddy. I don't know, one of the two. It's where we find out they're at the factory. He's like, so he gets off in 2 hours. He's like, well, we could just drive around. I forget which one's the actual driver. I think it might be Scuzz. He's like, I don't want the gas money. You want chip in for some gas money? He's like, look, a graveyard over there. We can go hang out there. Sorry, my bad. The driver is Suicide. Not Scuzz. Scuzz is the guy who wants to go check out the graveyard because he's never been in a graveyard before. He wants to hang out to see how a graveyard is. I guess if you're doing some of those like gravestone etchings, that'd be kind of cool, but to hang out in a graveyard in general, not cool. Especially one that looks like this. It looks like death. It looks like it's setting up a horror movie, but we are in a horror movie, so I guess it all works out right. Anyways, they set their boombox down in the graveyard, get the music, start blasting, get the mood and everything set up, because they're gonna wait the 2 hours for Freddy to get off work. And then we cut and see Freddy and Frank waking up in the basement, coughing up a lung like they got COVID for fucking some goddamn reason, which this disease would be a lot more interesting, but that's besides the point. I probably shouldn't talk about that before I get canceled. Anyways, they look in the container, and then they find out the body's gone, and Freddy's like, where'd the body go? And he's like, I don't know, how would I know? Anyways, now that they're up, they're all sweaty, and you can just see they've been sweating buckets. I don't know why Tar Man just avoided them, pretty much walked over them and walked away like it was no big deal. But they're coughing up a lung, and they're not doing so well. So essentially this gas from that container brings back the dead like nothing, instantly almost. But when you're human and you suck in the gas, you slowly start to cough your lungs out and slowly die over time. And that's when the trivia part comes up, because they get back upstairs and they're like, oh, I can smell it, must be stuck in my nose or somewhere. And he's like, yeah, I gotta spray some deodorant. And he finds a Lysol can on the shelf and just starts spraying it all over the place, to the point where you probably start choking just from that alone. And then Freddy's like, oh, what's that sound? And Frank's like, it sounds like a dog, actually, to be honest with you. That's when they then see this taxidermy dog that's only half of a dog on the floor as it's panting, and they pick it up, and that's when they realize, yeah, it's only actually half of a dog. It's cut right down the middle, but it's alive now, and it's whining and barking. And that's when Frank starts freaking out. It's like, we gotta kill it. Grabs a crutch and literally starts smacking the shit out of this dog puppet. And that's when they hear someone screaming, and it's coming from the meat freezer area, and they start freaking out. It's like, well, what the fuck is going on? What the hell is going on? What did we do? Also, something that's cool when Frank's going to lock up that door, there's also like a picture frame up on the wall that has the butterflies all on. The wings are just starting to flap. I thought that was a really nice touch in the background. And then Freddy starts freaking out. He's like, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do. Freddy's like, well, we'll call the cops. He's like, you don't want the cops around this place. They're gonna fucking rip us apart. He's like, well, what about the number on the tank down below? He's like, that's the number for the army. You don't want the army around this place. We Can't have the army around this place. This place is crazy. That's when then Frank picks up the phone. He's like, so Bert, we have a slight little problem over here, and I'm not really sure how to explain it to you, to be honest with you. And then we cut back to the graveyard where we see Trash talking to Spider. You're like, do you ever wonder if Farris asks what might be the most horrible way to die? I think about dying so much. She's a freak, which is fine because then she goes on about the worst way for her to die would be to have a bunch of old men to go around her and start biting her and eating her alive. And at this point in time, she starts to strip. She starts stripping on this big ass tombstone. And we see Suicide and it might be Scuzz walking around with roll flares, just dancing, being like, yeah, look at this. We're giving you some backdrop lighting. Yeah. Then we come back to the factory or warehouse where we see Bert come in. He's like, you morons, you opened what? You opened it? How stupid are you? That's when Bert's like, I've told you never to even go near those things. Why did you go down the basement and even slap the tank? Why did you do it? And then Bert's like, to save my business, I guess we could just get rid of all the evidence, right? We can just, burn it or something. And he's like, are you sure there's a zombie inside the meat cooler? He's like, I'm pretty sure if you want to open it and find out, you can. Oh, he's like, well, we got to kill it. We just got to kill it. That's the only thing we got to do. That's when Bert goes and grabs his fire pickaxe or mining axe of some sort and gives it to Frank. He's like, we're going to open this door and you kill it, okay? That way I'm not getting in trouble anyways, even if it isn't a zombie, because I don't want to get charged with any murder cases. So this is going to be up to you guys. You, Freddy, open the door. I'm going to stand off in the back. And Frank, when the zombie comes out, you pickaxe it in the head. Then as they're getting ready to do the combo, the zombie breaks through us. The combo's done and literally tackles Bert to the ground and starts trying to bite him. And they're like, get him off me, get him off me. And they finally, Freddy and Frank finally get the zombie down on the ground. It's like this yellow Homer Simpson looking color almost. And Bert grabs the pickaxe and literally pickaxes him in the head. And the whole time Frank's just freaking out. It's like, oh my god, oh, what are we doing? What are we doing? And the zombie's now crying in pain because apparently he does have a brain or something along those lines. I'm not sure. Or the brain did kill it. And they're like, just hold it down. I'm going to go get this hacksaw and we're going to cut his head off, as the zombie is kicking and screaming on the ground as they're trying to hold him down. They get the head cut off, but now the zombie's just walking around like this headless mummy as it's pushing over all the racks onto everyone, and it's just freaking out as it's walking around being like, oh no, I lost my head. Oh god, where do I go now? They finally tackle the zombie, get it down, and start tying it up, and then Bert's like, I thought you said if you destroy the head or cut the head off, it dies. And he's like, well, it didn't work. Clearly, it didn't work. And then Freddy's like, well, maybe it won't die at all. And then Bert's like, well, I guess we just gotta, get those sulfuric acid or melt it, dissolve it, burn it. I don't know. We gotta do something. And then Bert's like, well, maybe Ernie's still at the funeral home across the street, and maybe he'll be able to use the crematory oven and just burn the body alive and hope for the best and just let all the ashes go into the ground and not let the toxic waste that's inside this body go into their system. But it's fine. Then we cut over to the graveyard where Suicide's being like, you guys all say I'm spooky. You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life. I'm just trying to express myself. The whole time Trash is like feeling him up the whole time, and he doesn't care. He's like, show some fucking respect for the dead, will you? Just fuck off. We'll put some clothes on. And we cut over to the funeral home, embalming station, whatever, where we see Ernie. He's got his headset on, or his like old school Walkman headphones. He's got a pipe in his mouth, and he's getting ready to embalm some bodies that are on the table, or one body at least. Of course, he's got his music playing. Bert knocks on the door, but he obviously doesn't hear him at all. So Bert opens up the door and tries talking to him, but of course he's still not hearing him at all because he's got the music going. So then Bert like taps him, and Ernie gets scared and like literally points a gun. He's like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to scare you. Just need to talk to you for a few minutes there, buddy. And then Ernie's just starts showing Bert how he's like, yeah, this is how you break out rigor mortis in the body. You just flex out the muscles a little bit. You won't find this in any books at all. You learn this firsthand for free from me. And then Bert's like, so Ernie boy, how long have we been friends for? Ernie's like, well, about 25 years. Why? He's like, I got a pretty big favor to ask you because you're my buddy and everything, and yeah, I need your help. That's when then Bert's like, so I got a couple of my men outside. Can I actually just bring them in? That way we can show you instead of just like explain it to you. And they bring in this gurney, and it's a bunch of black garbage bags that are all moving. And then Ernie's like, what's in those bags? He's like, some rabbit weasels. So can we throw them in your incinerator oven and just get rid of them, please? Be a good friend. Ernie's like, why don't you just take them to the pound? He's like, yeah, it's not that easy. I can't actually just take them to the pound. I just want to save the paperwork, save all the hassle, and just like kind of get rid of them right now. He's like, well, what do you want me to do? He's like, let's burn them. Let's incinerate them. He's like, you want to burn a bunch of rabbit weasels? And Ernie's just like, I don't understand what's going on. on, like, you're confusing me. He's like, Bert's like, so can you swear to keep a secret? He's like, I don't know. I mean, you need to swear to keep a secret. It's not actually weasels in the bags. I'm not kidding at all. It's actually not weasels. That's when Bert picks up one of the bags and there's actually a severed arm inside the bag and starts moving on its own. It gets out of the bag and actually grabs Ernie on the ankle. He's like, get off, to the point where they're trying to get the arm off of Ernie's leg, to the point where it rips off his whole pant leg almost. And then that's when they sit Ernie down. He's like, you know what, we got a long story to tell you, so let's get comfy and discuss this, and let's get that incinerator oven started up soon so we can get this whole issue solved and not have to worry about it anymore, right, buddy? And then we come back to the party at the graveyard, and then Tina's like, oh shoot, Freddy's gonna be off work in like 5 minutes. I gotta go over there and wait for him, or he's gonna think I'm holding him up or ditching him. I don't know. As she's leaving the graveyard, there's also a cannon set up in the middle of the walkway, like an old medieval style cannon, which I thought was just unique, I guess, maybe for that part of the town. I'm not sure why. Also, both the medical supply factory and this graveyard both look like they're in like the worst ghetto area of this city, because she's looking down, she's standing in the walkway, the gateway of the graveyard, looking over at the medical supply center and being like, ooh, it's pretty spooky to walk over. There's like, lady, you're coming from a graveyard. So we also find out that the oven, cremation oven, is called a retort. Apparently that's what at least Ernie calls it. He's like, if I let you use the retort, what's in it for me? He's like, you help me out, I'll help you out. Ernie gets done cutting off his pant leg that's destroyed and ripped in half. He's like, all right, let's get your problem solved and get this night over with, because I am tired and I want to go home and pretty much forget about this whole night. They go down the basement and they get the oven set up, and he's like, Frank's like, so actually no, Bert is actually. Bert's like, so what about the bones? He's like, the bones are no problem. The heart's gonna be the issue. The heart's a bitch to burn up and make it melt, because it's the strongest muscle in the body, I guess. They got the oven started. They pull out the tray, and he's like, come on, help me load it. At least it's your mess I'm helping deal with. So can you please help me out at least? Bert's all freaking out. He's like, so you sure this is gonna solve my issue? Get rid of all the evidence? He's like, yeah, everything but the ashes. Like, well, we don't even want the ashes, to be honest with you. He's like, well, I guess I'll turn up the oven a little bit higher and we'll burn the ashes too for you. And then the music starts to change again, and then we see the body burning inside the incinerator, but then we see this green smoke coming out of the area, or the smokestack for the incinerator. And of course, now this smoke is now all in the atmosphere and in the air. And of course, right next to it is a graveyard, so I wonder what that smoke's going to do to the graveyard next door. And of course, while that smoke cloud is up in the air, it starts storming out of nowhere, and the rain starts pouring down. And of course, that's going to force the gas from the smoke and everything into the ground, which is going to bring all those lovely bodies that are, resting peacefully in that graveyard back to life. The group starts running to the car to get out of the graveyard, even though the car is a convertible, which I'm assuming it doesn't even have an actual fucking top. They're trying to pull it over, but I'm sure it's probably littered with fucking holes and doesn't keep the rain out. And then Tina's at the medical supply center, and she lets herself in because apparently the door's unlocked, and she doesn't want to get wet by the rain. Of course, we got them all in the car, and Trash is complaining that the rain's like an acid rain and feels like it's a burner. And of course, the car doesn't want to start at all, and Suicide's getting pretty pissed off. He's like, fuck sakes, man, everything in my life doesn't work out right. Goddamn car won't start now. Then we have this really cool shot where we see the rain hitting the grass, and then the camera starts panning down for the top layer of the grass, and then we see the layers of dirt and the roots and stuff, and then we finally come down to a casket where it looks like the lid's starting to cave in a bit, and then we just see the feet, and then we assume the feet are going to start to move, and then the camera cuts away and we're back in the incinerator as like Ernie's using a shovel or some sort to like kind of scrape the ashes away. And then we have Bert and Frank and Freddy getting ready to go back, and we see Frank and Freddy are both very, very sick looking, and they're holding their stomach, and they're sweating, and they're very pale. He's like, it feels like my head's gonna blow up, and I feel like I want to puke my brains out, and I'm just very weak, and I can't move. I got the chills. So it sounds like flu essentially, but this is the zombie virus taking over their body. And that's when Freddy finally tells Bert, when the caster broke on that shipping container, the gas hit us right in the face, and it knocked us out, and we've been sick ever since. And that's when Bert's like, okay, we gotta get you guys to the emergency ward right now and get everything taken care of because you guys are clearly very sick. And that's when then Frank grabs his mouth and runs outside to pretty much puke his brains out. At least he made it outside in the rain to puke, at least not on the floor, I guess. Then we see Ernie calling the 911 number. Like, so can we get some paramedics over here? Yeah, the embalming room in the back of the funeral home. We got a couple people who are sick, some kind of poisoning. Not really sure what kind of poisoning it is. They're not like dead bodies or anything, but they might be dead soon, so can you hurry up? Then we see the slow action camera pan as something's walking through the graveyard. You know, as the rain's coming down, it's this new eerie kind of music starting to play. Then we got this nice shot of this zombie who's trying to crawl either through the grass or he's supposed to be crawling up through the ground. I'm not really too sure. And then the top on the car springs a leak and it starts leaking all over trash. Linnea Quigley. And then we cut back into seeing inside the medical factory warehouse where Tina's looking around for, you know, Freddy or anyone, and she sees a mess all over the place and she's like, anyone here? Guys, where are you? That's when she then sees Freddy's hat on like the stairway in the door opening that leads down to the basement. So she picks it up. She's like, Freddy, you here? As she starts to walk down into the basement, which is going to be a bad mistake for her. That's when she then sees the military container off on the side. And there's like 7 of them, but only one of them's open. And then she hears the sound and she turns around and is like, who's there? And that's when we see Tarman finally pop out of the darkness for the first time, asking for brains. And she starts running up the stairs. And of course, he mentions earlier in the movie that the third step's a bitch. She's running up the stairs, and then the third step actually breaks and she almost falls through the stairs. And then we see Tarman slowly crawling up the stairs at her. Tina actually does finally fall through the stairs, and then she closes herself into like a medical cabinet of some sort, or it's like this big walk-in cabinet, but she puts a pipe through the door to keep the door shut. And that's when we cut outside. We see the group of teens running towards the medical warehouse to get out of the rain. Also, Tarman apparently has some brains in him because he's starting to use a chain and like a pulley system, and he puts a chain on the cabinet doors. He uses the pulley system to try and break the doors off of this cabinet system. Then everyone makes it into the warehouse and they hear Tina yelling, and that's when they all run downstairs to try and help her. They finally get downstairs and they see this chain pulling the door open, and Suicide's like, what the fuck's going on? And he pulls his curtain aside, and it's Tarman on the other side, and he literally just grabs Suicide's head and starts eating his brains. And then Tarman sees everyone else. He's like, ooh, more brains. And then everyone runs upstairs, and then we just see Spider holding the door shut. He's like, where the fuck are you guys all going? We gotta keep this door shut or he's gonna come get us. The ambulance finally shows up to the crematory building, and then we see Freddy and Frank sitting on the couch, buckets in their laps, covered up in blankets, pale as motherfucker, and they're literally just shaking, freezing. And the medics come in and start, you know, looking at them, and he asks, one of the medics asks Freddy to stick his tongue out. It's like this very sick-looking orange or yellowish skin color tone. He doesn't look good at all. And then Bert's like, yeah, it was some kind of industrial chemical thing from a tank. I'm not really sure where it came from or what it is, but it was just an accident. I don't know what happened to them, really. And then they start taking their vital signs. It's like, so there's a little issue that we're having right now. We got no vital signs from these two guys, even though they're right in front of us shaking and looking around. But I'm a little bit confused because it says they're dead. And one of the medics like, they got no blood pressure and no pulse. And Freddy's like, what do you mean I got no blood pressure or pulse? What's going on here? And then we cut back into the warehouse. We just see Spider hammering a bunch of boards up on the door frame, and everyone's freaking out. He's like, well, what the fuck do you think we're supposed to do? We're just supposed to barricade the door and we'll wait it out and we'll see what happens next. And Spider's like, well, where's Freddy? He works. And Tina's like, he was done already. I guess he wasn't here. And then we see them leaving the building, running outside the rain again. We run back into the graveyard, but now it's like flooding, and Spider's like, oh, we're gonna have to swim just to get to the funeral home over there. And then they hear some growling sounds, and they're like, what the fuck's that? And then next thing you know, we see a bunch of skeletons and zombies coming out of the ground as the music starts to pick up. Then as they start to see the zombies starting to come out of the ground, for a reason, they pretty much all split up and run different directions, and it's not probably going to work out for them. And it seems like Trash is having the worst experience at all. But then, of course, she gets her fancy anyways, because a bunch of zombies come around her and start biting her and eating her alive. So, her wildest fantasy is just being achieved. So, and then Freddy starts freaking out. He's like, are you guys saying that we're dead? He's like, well, I didn't really mean that you're dead, but you're showing no vital signs at all of being alive. So technically, this tests are showing that you're dead, but I can tell you're not dead because you're talking. And that's when we then hear bang on the door, and so the kid's trying to get into the funeral home, and that's when Ernie goes up the stairs to check. He's like, gun loaded. He's like, what the fuck's going on, guys? Like, why are you screaming and everything out here? He opens the door and has a gun pointed at him. He's like, what, are you guys crazy? Are you guys on PCP? Like, what the hell's going on here? And that's when they're like, don't you hear that out there? He's like, what are you talking about? And then we just hear a bunch of screaming and moaning and groaning coming from outside, and that's when they're like, the zombies and skeletons and stuff are coming out of the ground, and they're all after us. They're trying to kill us. You gotta call the cops. We gotta do something about it. I forget which two, but two of the people from the group, it's like the fancy looking girl and the guy in the suit, they run out of the funeral home, the graveyard area, and run back over to the medical center. And then we see the ambulance crew going back to the ambulance. Like, what's all that sound? What the hell's going on over here? And the one guy's like, oh, it sounds like people screaming. And one guy's like, oh, you get the stuff ready and whatnot, and I'll get on the radio and I'll call this in. And as the guy gets in the driver's seat and turns his light on, we see a bunch of zombies outside. And then his driver door opens up and a zombie pulls out. Actually, I think it's actually the passenger door. And a zombie jumps in and pulls him out. And then a bunch of other zombies start attacking him. And then the other guy leaves the back of the ambulance and he's like, what's going on? And then a bunch of zombies start tackling him. So the paramedic crew is not going to be any help anymore. That's when then Ernie goes and grabs Barry. He's like, so you gotta talk to these teens that just pounding on the door, and they're like, the dead people in the graveyards are coming alive, and they're trying to kill everyone. He's like, what are you talking about? And they're like, we found one of them in the warehouse. He's like, what warehouse? The medical supply warehouse. He's like, fuck, god damn it, I'm fucked. That's when the fancy guy and the other girl who went to the medical center run into the office to try and call the police officers on the phone. And that's why a zombie just literally torpedoes itself through the room. So they run out of that room and the guy throws like a filing cabinet down in front of it. It's like, we gotta find somewhere to hide just to be safe. That's when then Tina and the other guys meet up with Freddy and Frank. And Tina jumps on Freddy and starts kissing him because she's so happy to see him that he's still alive. And she's like, what did they do to you? That's when then Bert's like, well, where are the paramedics? Why haven't they come back? And Ernie's like, oh, well, I'll go outside and check on them. And he goes outside and he just finds an empty ambulance with all the doors open. He's like, okay, I'm gonna pull my gun out and be a little bit stealthy here just because I don't know what's gonna happen. He checks in the front seat, doesn't see anyone, closes the door, and when he closes the door, there's a midget zombie eating one of the paramedics. I'm not sure if dwarf or midget is a technical term that I should be using. Short person, whatever, oopa loopa, I don't care. But then we see him shoot at it a couple times and run back to the embalming center, and we just see the little short guy, Brad Williams, running after him. It's funny. I liked it. And Ernie goes back to the group. He's like, so paramedics aren't going to be help. They're all dead. The little zombie guy killed one of them. Don't know what to do now. That's when then Ernie goes to one phone, tries to use it, doesn't work. Goes into his office trying to use another phone. It doesn't work. And then next thing you know, we see the zombie's arms trying to break through like the glass on the main door. So then he starts moving a china cabinet as everyone's just watching. He's like, help me. Would you please help me move this in front of the door, please? Then we see them trying to like barricade up the room a little bit more, and they got sledgehammers and axes and stuff, and they're just trying to like beat off the zombies that are trying to like break through the windows. And then they go into the chapel and it's all the stained glass windows. He's like, so how are we supposed to barricade these? They're kind of big. And one of the zombies starts breaking through this glass that doesn't look like glass at all because of the way it's moving. And then Bert's just got like a shovel or something. He just starts wailing on their arms as they're coming through the glass. We see a zombie feeding on one of the paramedics, and someone comes on the radio and saying it's dispatch, and the zombie picks up the end of the radio. He's like, so come in dispatch, send more paramedics. And then we see them in another room, and I'm not sure where they are, but they're boarding up in their window. And Spider's like, how many fucking windows you got in this place? And he's just like, no more windows. Should be good from now. No more windows. That's when we then see Tina holding Freddy, being like, what did you do to him? What the fuck happened to him? What happened to him and this guy? And then Spider and the other guy pull out a knife. He's like, I think you should tell us what's going on now. So then Bert's like, oh, so there's some containers over in the medical factory. They decided to slap the container, and some gas came out, and it's their fault. I don't know what the fuck's in it. I told them not to touch it, and it's been there for like 14 years. So this is their fault, not my fault. And then Freddy starts saying how he feels sick and how everything's going on. And Ernie's like, how are you sick? He's like, well, my stomach started cramping, my body started hurting. He's like, oh, okay, let's take a look at it. And that's when Ernie's like, so you're going into rigor mortis? And then one of the guys that's in the party, I forget which one he is. It might be Casey. I don't know. He starts freaking out. He's like, man, you're dead. You're going to turn into one of those undead creatures. And then they hear alarm or like sirens coming, and they look out the window, and it's another ambulance showing up, and they start screaming at the guys coming out of the ambulance, telling them to go away. And then we see a horde of zombies literally just tackle these two guys, and they're dead now. And then we hear glass breaking as the zombies trying to break through the windows. So they all run to the window and start beating it with a pipe. One of them's got a hammer, one of them's got an axe. I'm not sure why there's an axe and all this other stuff in there, but whatever, it's fine. I guess an axe to chop out the pipe part? I don't know. But as they're fighting off the zombies in the window, the skeleton lady actually breaks through the window and actually starts gnawing on the brain of the one guy who was freaking out that Freddy's gonna turn into a zombie. And then he's pretty much dead because his brain has been ate, and Spider's got like this pipe and he's holding down the skeleton lady who's only the top half of her, and they're all freaking out. It's like, well, what are we supposed to do with this? What the fuck are we supposed to do with this now? That's when Ernie grabs this big giant pipe and is starting to hold it down. He's like, I got her pretty much forked, and we're gonna go do a test on it and see what's going on with these things. Next thing we know, we see Ernie having this severed lady on one of the operating tables, and they're tying her down. He's like, I'm just gonna do some tests on her and see what's going on here. So they got this lady tied down, and Ernie's like, so you hear me, huh? And the zombie says yes, and we find out the zombie's talking. He's like, so why do you eat people? And he's like, no. She's like, no, we don't eat people, we eat brains just to deal with the pain. And then she goes on to say that she can feel herself rotting and that eating brain is the thing that helps take away the pain of her body rotting inside. And Spider's like, so Bert and Ernie, can we go talk out there in the hallway so this zombie thing doesn't hear us? And he's like, so how do we kill this? And he's like, we don't. We got to burn them all, essentially, is what we got to do. And that's not going to be possible at all. Even though if you burn them, it's just going to cost more gas in the ecosystem and more zombies are going to come alive in the long run of things. And then at this point in time, we then see Trash coming back to life out of the mud as she's now like a zombie version of herself. And now like all of a sudden it's not raining at all, and we see this homeless guy pushing a shopping cart full of garbage and has like a garbage bag tied on the side of it. And then we see Trash coming out of the smoke as the music's starting to pick up a little bit, and she's just walking straight for this homeless guy who's just like, blue lady who's naked coming right at me. But then when Trash gets to the homeless guy, it literally looks like she's a vampire because she goes for his neck instead of going for his brains. And then the guy in the suit and the other girl from the party are hiding in a room. He's like, you think you're gonna fight us? And then she starts freaking out. She's like, I never did like you, but can you please hold me? I'm scared. And then Bert's like, so can we take Frank and Freddy and lock them in another room? We're not gonna hurt them. We just want to keep them safe from us and for ourselves, so we don't have to hurt them, and keep them in a separate room just so we can get out here and get things fixed and hopefully get them back to their normal self again. So then we see everyone picking up Freddy and Frank and dragging them essentially into the chapel area and laying them down because they're in so much pain because rigor mortis is setting in, and they're leaving them in the chapel area just for their own safety, of course. That's when then Spider's like, how about we just leave them and get the fuck out of here? And Tina's like, you know what, I'm not leaving Freddy. And then Bert's like, well, we gotta lock the door. And she's like, well, I'm not leaving, I'm just gonna stay in here with Freddy, which probably not the good idea, but I guess love does that makes you do stupid things. Then we see the cops showing up. He's like, so the doors on the ambulance are all open and we don't see anyone around at all. So we're just going to pull out our guns and go investigate now and hope for the best here. So when the cop goes over to check on the one paramedic who's on the ground, he's like, Jesus, we just see blood or brains gushing out. And then all the zombies start coming out of the background and start tackling the cops, and they're yelling at them to freeze as they start to shoot their guns. But there's way too many zombies at all. And then one of the zombies gets on the police radio and he's like, send more cops. And then the three guys are like, well, we gotta find out a way to fight these guys off. And then Ernie's like, what about this nitric acid? Pretty much use this maybe to kill them off, I guess. Then we cut to Freddy, who's screaming in pain as Tina's holding him, saying how it hurts more than she can ever imagine. And he dies, and then comes right back to life. He's like, I can finally see the one thing. The one thing that can help my suffering is live brains. And then he starts chasing her around the chapel as he's foaming from the mouth. And then Bert and the guys come into the chapel to help out, and they're fighting Freddy. They're like hitting him with a pipe, and then Spider literally hits him with a sledgehammer. But the whole time they're fighting Freddy, Frank kind of weasels his way out around them and out of the chapel. And then Ernie throws the acid into Freddy's face, which he doesn't really like that feeling too much. They make it back into the embalming room, and Spider's freaking out. He's like, Freddy's face is all fucked up, man. And then Ernie starts slapping him in the face, like, not Freddy, just fuck off, it's not Freddy, just get your fucking shit together, man. Then Freddy starts breaking down the doors, and they start barricading the door up a bit, and somehow, I'm not sure what happens. I'm not sure if it's because they're trying to barricade the door up with this big pew seat or whatever the fuck you call it, church pew seat. Anyways, Ernie hurts his foot somehow, and he says it's broken, and I'm not sure how. I'm not sure if it's from the seat falling on it or what happened. Maybe Spider dropped the sledgehammer on his foot. I don't know. I didn't really see what happens there at that moment, but apparently he has a broken foot. That's when they're like, okay, we just gotta get to the police car. The police car probably still has the keys in it, and Bert's looking out the window, and he's like, it's still running, actually, to be honest with you. And then Spider's like, yeah, I'll drive. He's like, no, fuck you. I'm gonna run to it, and we're gonna get the car, and I'm gonna drive. That's when Ernie's like to Bert, so you still owe me a favor, so please watch your ass out there, all right? Because I still want that favor that you owe me. So we see them open the back door, the bombing door, and we see Spider and Bert both going out there to try and fight off the zombies, and they finally do make it to the police car, but then the zombies start tackling pretty much the whole police car. But they start driving off, at least to the front door. Well, it's actually the back door, but I'm not sure what their plan was, because then all the zombies are back on top of the car, so the zombies just pretty much aren't leaving them alone at all. So then they go to drive away, and then Tina starts screaming and freaking out to Ernie. He's like, they left us. He's like, no, they have a plan. They're going to figure it out. They have a plan. They just got to get rid of the zombies and get them away from there for right now. So then Spider's like, what are you doing? She's like, we're going to go get rid of the car. We're going to get some help. We're going to, call for some help. Everything's going to be fine. And they're driving around. They go to the factory area, the warehouse or whatever. And then there's more zombies. So he's like, okay, that's a bad idea. So then he turns around the corner, hits two zombies, and then they crash the car up against the wall. And then the car starts to catch on fire. So then they break break into the medical center where the other guy in the suit and the girl are there. It's like, what's going on? It's like, so just a lot of zombie, and we just gotta try and figure out some way to get help of some sort. Then we come back to Ernie and Tina, who are in the bombing area. And that's when we hear Freddy bang at the door to try and get in, and they set up a ladder to go up into the attic area, and they get up in the attic area and they get the door shut, and when Freddy breaks into the door, his eyes are all kind of like melted over because he's pretty much, you know, the acid destroyed him. Well, they didn't destroy him, but it destroyed his face pretty good. And then we see the embalming oven turning on, and it's actually Frank who's taking his ring off and putting it on the machine and, you know, asking for forgiveness as he's getting ready to climb into the embalming oven to finish his life off because he doesn't want to live like a zombie. We see him pull out the tray, climb in, somehow close the tray inside, close the door, and the oven's cooking, and he's screaming. Then we hear the helicopter coming in over the loud system. The police is saying this area is under, you know, lockdown brigade kind of area, all locked down, and everyone's like, okay, so the cops are here, and, you know, they're not gonna know we're in here because there's no way of us letting them know we're inside this building. And then inside the building, Bert's like, so we're gonna go in the office, use the phone. So yeah, the zombie ripped the phone out, and he's like, fine, there's another phone in the basement. He's like, so there's a military zombie corpse kind of thing down that basement, and I'm not fucking going in the basement because that thing is scary as fuck. Bert grabs a bat. He's like, you know, we're going in the basement because we gotta use the phone. So we'll use the phone, hold off the zombie, and everything will be fine. And then we cut back to Ernie and Tina in the embalming area where they're up in the attic. And Freddy's like, so it was very rude of you, Tina, to lock me away in that room. You should let me in, Tina. It hurts. Let me in. I want your brain. Ernie's holding like Tina, and he's got like his hand around her face almost, and he's got his gun in his hand in the other hand as well. And he's kind of like shaking it, pointing at her head because he's like, well, if I kill her and make her brain dead, maybe Freddy will just leave us alone. That's what I'm assuming he's thinking. And then we cut back to Bert and the other guys as they take the barricade off the door, and then Tar Man comes in and they literally whack him in the head and take off his head, and then they barricade themselves down in the basement. They get down in the basement, and then they go over to where the military containers are, and Bert closes the lid because the phone is apparently behind that lid, and he's like, okay, so it's an emergency and I need to get you know, one of the police officers on the phone now to let them know that we're in this medical building and that we're trapped in the basement. And Bert's on the phone with one of the officers. He's like, can you at least tell us what's going on? I've lost at least a dozen good men, and we have no idea what the hell's going on out here. And now it's raining again. And the officer's like, can you just hold for a minute? There's a lot of noise here. And then we see a bunch of zombies just running at the whole barricade, and all the cops are shooting at them, but it's not doing any good at all because they start picking off the cops one by one. And the cops start trying to fight back, and the zombies' heads just keep falling off. Then on the phone, all Bert hears is a bunch of, you know, screaming and gunshots and people yelling for their lives. So then Bert's like, fine, I'll call the number on the container, and we see the phone calls getting transferred over and over, and then we have the phone waking up that military sergeant who was, you know, at the beginning of the movie. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're waking me up in the middle of the night, but that's fine. And then we have the guy taking, you know, the response from Bert. He's like, so when was the tank breach? He's like, so why didn't you call us as soon as this happened? Why are you waiting? He's like, you know, I'm just, I'm worried. I don't know why. And then the officer's just jotting down notes about what happened and what happened with the gas when inhaled and whatnot. And we just find out that it's like taking place in Louisville, and he's calling one of the other head ups, being like, yeah, so the eggs have hatched. You know, at least we found the containers, and it would be good news, but sadly the eggs, the containers with the contaminant bodies inside, have hatched. So now they're trying to figure out what they're going to do for the next plan to kind of control the virus. And then it's the 42nd Special Artillery who's getting ready to bomb the shit out of this area to get rid of the zombie plague, just to try and nip it in the butt, so to speak. And then they get ready to set off the bomb, and Bert's like, hey, wait, listen, do you hear something? And it's the missile getting ready to hit, and then we see Freddy breaking through the ceiling to get to Ernie and Tina, and then we see another shot of Trash as she's in her zombie form, and then we see a big giant explosion happening and a bunch of things blowing up, and then we see the timestamp is 5:01 a.m. and then Glover, the special agent guy, he's like, yeah, it's only about like 20 square blocks destroyed, only like less than 4,000 people dead, General, it's probably fine, don't worry about it. And then it starts to rain again, of course, because it fucking keeps raining on and off. Like, we hear Glover saying, you know, everything should be back to normal in the morning, and then as we see it raining some more, we cut back to that zombie foot that's in the ground again, assuming that it's going to come alive as well. Even though the explosion hit, it seems like that area is still there. So I'm not sure how well this bomb actually hit, because it's now just replayed footage from before. And then we see another skeleton zombie popping through the ground again, and then the outro credits start to hit, and the movie's over. And that's the end of this movie. And you know, I'm going to be honest, on the Rotten scale out of 10, I absolutely love this movie. It's a solid 8 out of 10 for me, and I think it's great. It's got a good mixture of comedy and action, and yeah, it's a must watch for me. But yeah, if you guys haven't watched this movie for some silly crazy reason, definitely go watch it on Tubi. I only ran into actually like 3 10-second ads for this whole watching, and I definitely think this movie is well worth the time. The other ones are pretty good too. The second one, I think there's like 4 of them. I could be wrong on that. It's been a while since I watched the other ones. I watched the second one, you know, last year, the year before, whatever it might have been, because I don't know how long this podcast has been running for. I should really look that up. But yeah, definitely go check it out. Which brings us to our movie we're going to watch next week, which is going to be another one on Tubi. It's actually in the Leaving Soon section, so I'm not sure if it's still going to be there by the time you guys watch it, or if you guys go do watch it, or by the time the next episode of the podcast comes out. But we're watching from 1991. It's an hour and 38 minutes. It's a horror movie, and it's by Stephen King. It's Sometimes They Come Back. I haven't watched this movie since I was a kid, to be honest with you. You know, I was born in 89, and this came out in 91. So I probably was like 10, I want to say, when I first watched it with my parents. And I probably have only revisited it maybe 3 times the whole time. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching this one again and seeing if it's good or bad or not. Because, you know, Stephen King movies have the sometimes the trait of being bad, or at least people say they're bad. I like them. Then again, Maximum Overdrive is like one of my favorite movies of all time. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, like always, make sure to check out the outro band, Toronto-based horror band, The Blood Opera. All their links will be down below, but you can find them on YouTube, SoundCloud, Instagram, Spotify, Facebook, pretty much anywhere and everywhere. Go check them out. Their Etsy page will be down below as well, so you can buy some of their merch or custom-made stuff. And as always, check out all my stuff down below in the links as well. @TyphonSign. Follow me on all social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Thread, X, or Twitter, whatever. Yeah, make sure to, of all the things, if you're only going to follow one thing, make sure to go follow the YouTube channel. I appreciate that a lot, because we're making a big push for the YouTube channel, and some more content coming out. Like I said, the weekly gaming video comes out every Wednesday. We have old episodes of the podcast, and we have the live drawing streams and some other various artwork and shorts that are going to be coming out throughout the weeks as well. So definitely go check that out, and you know, hit that subscribe button on there, turn on the bell notification, that way you get notified every time I post a new video, and feel free to share any of the content you see, so either be in the podcast, artwork, or the YouTube videos. I appreciate it all, and I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.
Whisper in the classroom, the writing on the wall. What's blood for, if not for the shedding?
You used to play that childhood game, didn't you? The one where we chant his name. Was it true?
congratulations on forming and rocking with your metal band, Blood Opera. God bless you and continue rocking the riffs.